4 years ago, charter pilot Captain Jake Morrison and his co-pilot Lisa Chen disappeared while flying a private passenger from Montana to Colorado. Their Cessna Citation vanished from radar over the Rocky Mountains, with no distress call, no wreckage found despite extensive searches. Now, Jake's younger brother Tom is finally cleaning out his pilot brother's apartment, and he discovers that their mysterious passenger that night wasn't just a businessman, he was a federal witness who'd broken cover. Jake and Lisa had stumbled onto something deadly, and someone had been willing to bring down a plane to keep their secrets buried in the mountains. Tom Morrison stood in Jake's apartment, surrounded by the precise order only a pilot could maintain. 4 years of dust couldn't hide his brother's methodical nature. Navigation charts rolled by region, logbooks arranged by aircraft type, flight manuals sorted by manufacturer. Everything reflecting the aviator's creed that attention to detail meant the difference between life and death. How wrong that had proven to be. Detective Sarah Walsh watched from Jake's leather armchair, genuine concern, professional sympathy, volunteered assistance that seemed almost too helpful for a state officer working a 4-year-old case. Something about her presence felt rehearsed, like an actor playing a familiar role. "Take your time," she said. "I know cleaning out a missing person's belongings feels like giving up hope." But Tom wasn't giving up hope. He was finally ready to find answers. At 28, he'd spent 4 years designing aircraft while wondering why his pilot brother's plane had simply vanished from controlled airspace. No mayday calls, no debris field, no explanation that satisfied anyone who understood aviation. Behind Jake's certificates, Tom discovered what would change everything: a manila folder marked passenger manifest discrepancies. Inside were photocopied documents that revealed his brother had been investigating irregularities in charter bookings, flights paid for in cash, passengers using questionable identities, routes that avoided standard air traffic control procedures. "Sarah, look at this." Tom held up flight records showing unusual patterns. Jake was tracking passengers who paid excessive amounts for flights that avoided commercial aviation routes. Detective Walsh's interest sharpened beyond professional curiosity into something that looked like alarm. Where would Jake have gotten access to these records? The documents showed 6 charter flights over 3 months, all involving cash payments of $15,000 for routes typically costing $3,000. The final entry was circled in red: Robert Harrison, destination Denver International Airport, October 15, 2019, Jake's last flight. 3 time zones away in Washington, D.C., Deputy U.S. Marshal Patricia Vance received an encrypted alert. Morrison family investigating Harrison transport. Immediate assessment required. She accessed classified databases that revealed Robert Harrison as a federal witness whose testimony had destroyed Vincent Torino's organized crime empire. Harrison had violated protection protocols by contacting family in Colorado, forcing emergency relocation through unofficial channels. The charter flight had been arranged to maintain operational security. Neither the pilot nor co-pilot had survived to report what Harrison had told them about corruption in the U.S. Marshal Service. Tom found Jake's personal logbook, its final entry contradicting the official NTSB report. While investigators claimed Jake's last radio contact occurred at 9:47 p.m. over the Rockies, his handwritten notes told a different story. Passenger extremely agitated, claims federal agents are trying to kill him, requesting route deviation to avoid Denver airspace. Something very wrong with this job. If anything happens to us, check backup radio in flight bag. The backup radio device contained recordings that would rewrite the official narrative of Flight 447's disappearance. Jake's voice, professional but concerned. "Lisa, this guy's ID doesn't match federal database photos. He's been making calls in Russian or maybe Serbian." Lisa Chen's response: "Should we abort to Billings?" "Negative, but I'm logging everything. If this goes sideways, at least there'll be a record." Robert Harrison's voice joined the conversation. "Pilots, I need you to understand something. People want me dead because I exposed federal agents taking money from Vincent Torino. 3 other witnesses have died in accidents over the past 6 months." The recording revealed Jake's growing realization that his passenger wasn't just avoiding standard booking procedures, he was running from a federal conspiracy that had infiltrated the very agencies designed to protect him. Detective Walsh listened to the playback, her expression shifting from surprise to calculation. "Tom, this is evidence of federal crimes. We need to contact U.S. Marshals immediately." But Tom noticed Walsh's reaction hadn't been shock at the revelations, it had been recognition, as if she'd heard Harrison's story before. "Sarah, how long have you known that Robert Harrison was a federal witness?" Walsh's hand moved toward her service weapon. "Tom, there are classified aspects of your brother's case that involve national security. Jake got involved in something beyond his understanding. Are you saying you've known the truth for 4 years while my family believed Jake died in an accident? I'm saying some investigations require sacrificing individual cases to protect larger operations. Your brother's death helped preserve federal programs that protect hundreds of other witnesses." Tom realized Detective Walsh wasn't a state officer who'd volunteered to help. She was a federal agent monitoring the Morrison family to ensure the truth about Jake's murder remained classified. As Walsh reached for her radio, Tom grabbed Jake's flight records and ran. His brother had died protecting a federal witness from government corruption. Now, Tom was running from the same conspiracy that had killed Jake, carrying evidence that could expose 4 years of lies and institutional murder disguised as aviation accidents. Tom Morrison drove Jake's pickup through Colorado mountain roads. His brother's aviation charts spread across the passenger seat, alongside radio recordings that proved Flight 447 hadn't crashed. It had been shot down. Detective Walsh's voice crackled through police scanners, coordinating a manhunt for a domestic terrorist who'd stolen classified materials. But the recordings revealed more than Jake's final flight. Hidden in extended memory were weeks of conversations documenting Jake's investigation into charter passengers who paid excessive cash for flights, avoiding federal oversight. His methodical pilot's mind had recognized patterns that revealed something far more sinister than tax evasion or immigration violations. September 28th. Recording. Jake to Lisa. 6 cash passengers in 2 months, all avoiding major airports. That's not normal charter business. Legitimate travelers don't pay $15,000 to avoid paper trails. Lisa's response. What do you think they're running from? Federal witness protection violations, maybe tax issues, but the money's too good for Mountain West Aviation to refuse. Jake had begun researching passenger identities through aviation security databases, cross-referencing names with law enforcement records available to licensed pilots. What he'd discovered had terrified him enough to start keeping backup documentation. Robert Harrison was the 4th federal witness Jake had unknowingly transported in 6 months. The previous 3 had died within weeks of their flights, accidents that eliminated their ability to testify about organized crime infiltration of federal agencies. Meanwhile, Deputy U.S. Marshal Patricia Vance coordinated Tom's pursuit from Denver, her encrypted communications revealing the witness elimination program Jake had discovered. Morrison's brother has flight recordings proving Harrison transport and pilot elimination protocols. Recommend immediate containment before evidence reaches congressional oversight. Tom's phone rang as he studied Jake's flight paths. Unknown caller. Tom Morrison. Yes. David Chen. Lisa was my sister. We need to meet. Hope surged through Tom's exhaustion. You're Lisa's brother? Former FBI computer forensics. I resigned after discovering federal cover-up of Lisa's murder. Our siblings were killed to protect organized crime infiltration of witness protection programs. David explained that Flight 4047 hadn't crashed from mechanical failure or pilot error. It had been destroyed by surface-to-air missile to prevent Robert Harrison from exposing corrupt federal agents taking money from Vincent Torino's organization. I have military radar data showing the missile launch, satellite imagery of the attack, communications intercepts proving federal authorization, but I need Jake's recordings to complete the evidence chain. Tom felt pieces aligning into a horrific pattern. Where do we meet? Abandoned Mountain View Airport hangar. Federal surveillance won't monitor decommissioned aviation facilities, and the symbolism matters. Our siblings died in aviation-related murders orchestrated by the government agencies that should have protected them. As Tom prepared for the rendezvous, he understood that Jake's investigation had uncovered systematic elimination of federal witnesses who threatened to expose institutional corruption. The charter flight business had unknowingly become part of the transportation network for witnesses fleeing compromised protection programs. But even unofficial transport wasn't safe when federal agents were monitoring those routes and eliminating witnesses before they could expose the truth about organized crime infiltration of American law enforcement. The meeting with David Chen would either provide evidence needed to expose the conspiracy, or it would eliminate the last 2 people who knew what had really happened to their siblings. Tom drove toward Mountain View Airport, carrying Jake's recordings and the determination to honor his brother's sacrifice by revealing the truth about witness elimination programs that had been operating in federal shadows for years. The abandoned Mountain View Airport hangar existed in aviation limbo, neither maintained nor demolished, serving only as testament to Colorado's faded aerospace industry. Rusted aircraft frames cast twisted shadows through broken windows, while empty fuel drums echoed footsteps with hollow metallic percussion. David Chen had chosen this location for its symbolic resonance. Two families destroyed by aviation murders, meeting where flight dreams came to die. Tom Morrison arrived precisely on schedule, his engineer's punctuality matching his brother's pilot precision, but David's FBI training immediately detected anomalous elements in Tom's approach pattern. He wasn't alone. Detective Sarah Walsh followed 20 yards behind, weapon drawn but not targeting, positioning suggesting either hostage scenario or elaborate federal trap designed to eliminate remaining witnesses to the organized crime conspiracy. "David Chen?" Tom called across the hangar's cavernous space. "Tom, step away from the detective immediately," David replied, his voice carrying 4 years of paranoid preparation. "Sarah Walsh died in a Denver car accident during 2018. Whoever's accompanying you has been using stolen federal credentials to monitor your family." Tom spun toward Walsh, whose professional sympathy had transformed into predatory calculation. "Who are you really?" "Federal Agent Patricia Santos, U.S. Marshal Service," she replied, raising her weapon to center mass targeting. "David Chen is wanted for espionage and theft of classified materials. Tom Morrison faces charges of interfering with federal operations and possession of state secrets." David recognized the elimination protocol immediately. Legal justification created retroactively to explain witness deaths as law enforcement casualties during arrest procedures. But his 4 years of preparation had anticipated this exact scenario. Hidden throughout the hangar were recording devices that would capture the encounter, along with dead man switches that would automatically transmit evidence to congressional oversight committees if he failed to check in every 6 hours. "Agent Santos," David called. "Before executing us, don't you want to assess potential intelligence breaches? We've gathered evidence about witness elimination programs that reaches deputy marshal level." Santos hesitated, her training recognizing the importance of damage assessment before eliminating intelligence sources. "What evidence?" "Military radar data showing the surface-to-air missile that destroyed Jake's Cessna, satellite imagery revealing the launch coordinates, communications intercepts proving federal authorization for the attack, financial records documenting organized crime payments to corrupt marshals." Tom stared at David with amazement. The evidence scope exceeded anything he'd imagined possible. Plus Lisa's investigation into charter flight passenger irregularities that revealed the witness transportation network. She'd identified 17 federal witnesses murdered after using unofficial relocation services. Santos's professional composure cracked slightly. If David possessed that level of documentation, eliminating him and Tom wouldn't contain the operational damage. "Where is this evidence secured?" "Multiple locations with automatic release protocols. Lisa taught me never to trust federal witness protection, and her paranoia saved both our investigations." Tom activated Jake's flight recordings, Robert Harrison's voice filling the hangar. 3 other witnesses in my program have died in the past 6 months. Car crashes, house fires, boating accidents. Someone with federal database access has been eliminating people who testified against Vincent Torino. Santos's weapon lowered as she processed the implications of systematic witness elimination operating within her own agency. "Agent Santos," David continued, "do you understand why your supervisors authorized you to kill us today? Not because we threaten national security, but because we discovered Deputy U.S. Marshal Patricia Vance has been running witness elimination operations for Vincent Torino since 2016. The revelation struck Santos with devastating force. She'd been manipulated into committing murder to protect the very organized crime figures her oath required her to prosecute. Lisa and Jake died because they were exposing the most successful organized crime infiltration of federal law enforcement in American history. Now you must choose. Kill the only people who can prove it, or help us destroy the conspiracy that's been using you to commit institutional murder." Santos's decision would determine whether Flight 447's truth would finally emerge, or whether Tom and David would join their siblings as casualties of federal corruption that had been operating in classified shadows for decades. The next 30 seconds would either vindicate 4 years of dangerous investigation or add 2 more names to the witness elimination program's victim list. Agent Patricia Santos lowered her weapon completely, the weight of 4 years' manipulation crushing her federal oath into bitter recognition. David Chen's evidence had revealed not just the murder of Jake Morrison and Lisa Chen, but a systematic witness elimination program protecting organized crime through institutional corruption. Deputy Marshal Vance told me you were domestic terrorists threatening classified operations, Santos whispered, her voice hollow with betrayal's realization. She never mentioned witness elimination or organized crime infiltration. Tom Morrison watched the federal agent process her unwitting participation in murder conspiracy, while David activated encrypted tablets containing evidence that had required 4 years of dangerous investigation to compile. The financial documentation was overwhelming: offshore payments from Vincent Torino's organization to federal agents throughout the U.S. Marshal Service, FBI, and Department of Justice. The money trail revealed how organized crime had purchased protection at every level of witness security programs. Lisa discovered this corruption network by analyzing charter flight booking irregularities, David explained, his sister's FBI training evident in the meticulous evidence organization. Federal witnesses were using unofficial transportation because official channels had been compromised. But even charter flights weren't safe when corrupt agents monitored those routes. Santos examined her own account numbers among the financial records, payments she'd believed were performance bonuses for successful counterterrorism operations, actually blood money for eliminating federal witnesses. "I've been paid to murder the people I swore to protect," she realized. "You've been paid to protect organized crime figures your oath required you to prosecute," David corrected. Vincent Torino didn't just buy silence. He purchased the entire federal apparatus designed to destroy his criminal empire. Meanwhile, Deputy U.S. Marshal Patricia Vance monitored their conversation through surveillance equipment. Santos unknowingly carried the revelation of David's evidence requiring immediate damage control through lethal force. But David's NSA-quality surveillance detection had identified the monitoring devices, and his counterintelligence preparation included real-time evidence transmission to congressional oversight committees, news organizations, and federal inspector general offices. "Agent Santos," David said urgently, "examine your communication equipment. You're broadcasting our location to the people who want us dead." Santos discovered hidden surveillance devices that had been monitoring their entire confrontation, the realization that she'd been unknowingly transmitting intelligence to organized crime protectors, making her face flush with rage. "They've been listening to everything," she confirmed, "which means they know we possess evidence capable of destroying the witness elimination program and exposing every corrupt federal agent taking organized crime money," Tom concluded. David activated emergency broadcast protocols Lisa had designed, automatic evidence upload to multiple oversight agencies simultaneously, triggered by surveillance detection or federal agent approach. "My sister knew that people like Vance would eventually eliminate anyone discovering institutional corruption." As evidence upload confirmations appeared on David's screen, Washington Post, Senate Judiciary Committee, FBI Inspector General, Department of Justice, Office of Professional Responsibility. The scope of the investigation's impact became clear, but Vance's response was immediate and deadly. Military aircraft appeared on the horizon, approaching with authorization to eliminate all evidence of the meeting, along with everyone present. 3 minutes before this location becomes a crater, Santos said, recognizing attack helicopter configurations. "Vance has military asset authorization against domestic threats." David led them toward emergency exits he'd prepared throughout the facility, but Tom stopped to secure Jake's original flight recordings, the only proof that his brother had died protecting a federal witness rather than in an aviation accident. "Those recordings prove Jake and Lisa died as heroes, not accident victims," Tom said. "Without them, this becomes another terrorist attack on American soil." As they reached the hangar's emergency exit, David's satellite phone received a call from Washington, D.C. "David Chen, Senator Margaret Walsh, Senate Judiciary Committee. We've received your evidence regarding federal witness elimination programs. Military aircraft approaching your position have been ordered to stand down immediately. Deputy U.S. Marshal Patricia Vance and 14 associates are under arrest." Through hangar windows, they watched attack helicopters changing course as legitimate federal vehicles surrounded the facility. 6 months later, Tom Morrison and David Chen testified before joint congressional committees investigating organized crime infiltration of federal law enforcement. Their evidence resulted in the largest corruption scandal in U.S. Marshal Service history, with 51 federal agents arrested for conspiracy, murder, and racketeering. Deputy U.S. Marshal Patricia Vance received life imprisonment for orchestrating witness elimination programs protecting Vincent Torino's organization for over a decade. The conspiracy had murdered 27 federal witnesses, including Jake Morrison, Lisa Chen, and Robert Harrison. Agent Patricia Santos received clemency in exchange for cooperation, exposing federal corruption, her testimony revealing systematic organized crime infiltration of agencies designed to prosecute criminal enterprises. But for Tom and David, congressional hearings and criminal convictions provided less satisfaction than personal closure achieved through honoring their siblings' sacrifice. Jake Morrison and Lisa Chen received posthumous federal recognition as law enforcement officers who died protecting witnesses and exposing government corruption. Their investigation techniques were implemented throughout reformed federal agencies to prevent future organized crime infiltration. Standing at Jake's grave on the 4th anniversary of his disappearance, Tom placed a model Cessna Citation on the headstone, identical to the aircraft his brother had been flying when murdered for protecting a federal witness. "You exposed organized crime infiltration, reaching the deputy marshal level," Tom said quietly. "You reformed witness protection programs that had been compromised for over a decade, and you proved that charter pilots can be heroes when they refuse to abandon passengers to institutional murder." David Chen stood at Lisa's grave in the same cemetery, carrying her restored FBI credentials and the knowledge that her investigation system had brought down federal corruption spanning multiple administrations. "You built evidence protocols that survived both our deaths and institutional cover-up attempts," David whispered. "You protected witnesses even after becoming a victim yourself, and you ensured the truth would outlive everyone trying to bury it." The abandoned hangar where they'd confronted Santos became a memorial to federal agents who died exposing government corruption. Jake's flight recordings and Lisa's investigation files displayed alongside evidence from other whistleblowers who'd sacrificed their lives protecting American democratic institutions. Some investigations restore faith in institutions corrupted by the criminals they were designed to prosecute. Jake and Lisa's case proved that ordinary citizens, charter pilots, and FBI analysts could defeat billion-dollar criminal conspiracies when they refused to be silenced by intimidation or institutional murder. The Witness Protection Program had been cleansed of organized crime infiltration, but at the cost of 2 lives that should never have been sacrificed to institutional corruption. Tom and David carried their siblings' legacy forward, ensuring that federal agencies would never again be compromised by the criminal enterprises they were sworn to defeat.